Are you too busy, too stressed out, unhealthy? Then this is the place for you. Welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, where we help you create wellness and balance with a holistic approach that will work for you, even with the busiest of schedules, so you can live the life you want. And now, here's your host, Diane Randall.
Today, I have a special guest for you, Rick Birdwell, who is a life coach of a men's transportational support group, and he's here to tell us how that work helps men to become fully alive and empowered to be co-creators of the world they want. Rick has been in personal growth for more than 20 years. I met Rick when we both were attending the University of Santa Monica working on master's degrees in spiritual psychology. He's such a phenomenal person, and I've personally had the experience of his work, so I was really excited to invite him here today for this episode of Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. He's going to tell us all about his life-changing work that he does with men. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Diane. It's great to be with you.
How are you?
Doing good. Enjoying the country life out here in Bryan, Texas.
That's good. And I'm very happy that you took some time to talk to me from your great life in Texas. Rick, I know you've been doing this work. You've shared some things about it with me and others. And I just wanted you to come on the podcast and tell us more about what the kind of work that you do with the men, the benefits and the outcome, and what you have witnessed in the past 20 years. It's so wonderful to see that there is a men's group that does inner work. In the past, many years ago, there was a time in our society, at least in mainstream, when transformation and men in the same sentence may not have played together. So I want to know how you first got involved in this work.
Well, great. I'm glad to share what I can. And it's a really broad subject, so I'll just try to hit some of the highlights.
Okay.
It was in my mid-40s. I was a successful engineer working with a big oil company and had a family. And yet I knew something just wasn't right. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be. And I had a lot of negative self-talk going on. And this is over 20 years ago. And I was really searching. And I happened upon a video produced by PBS. It featured Robert Bly, and the narrator was Bill Moyer. It was an excellent little intro to men's work and really got me interested in exploring all the conditioning that I had placed on myself and got me looking at what was working in my life and what wasn't working. And the name of the organization I stumbled across 20 years ago is called the Mankind Project. And they do a little weekend initiation called the New Warrior Training Adventure. And that kind of started my awakening to, being more than just a producer male. I was a good provider. From the external world, I had what, quote unquote, would be considered a successful life. And so what New Warrior did for me is it opened me up to what was behind the dysfunctional beliefs I had. I had the kind of the standard beliefs of the negative beliefs of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and those were kind of zapping my energy. And through the work on that weekend and then the follow-up work that they offer, I was able to kind of unpack where those judgments came from, and I was able to forgive myself for that kind of thinking. And with the support of ongoing weekly men's groups, I was able to really explore uh, where that negativity came from and to be able to reframe it. So it was a gradual process. It wasn't for me an overnight awakening. It's been going on for 20 years, and I still feel like I have a ways to go, but I feel like I have some tools so that when I do get snagged and get kind of get in a rut with my own thinking, I'm able to pop out of it pretty quickly.
Well, that's wonderful. So what I hear you saying to us and any men that may be listening is that even when things come up after 20 years, you have tools to help support you and navigate you through whatever's coming up for you.
Yeah, I wish I could claim some kind of permanent enlightenment or some kind of uh, a pinnacle a mountaintop that I never come off of. But that's just hadn't been my experience.
I hear you. But one of the things and the intentions all around balanced living for busy professionals is to empower people with tools to help them navigate their own lives from the inside out. So what you're saying is really great today because many of us want to free ourselves of our dysfunction and all the upsets that we may have so that we can free ourselves and lead our lives more fully. So, can you elaborate a little on what you do in the workshops that you lead?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very simple structure, and in the men's work I do, we really utilize four main archetypes that help structure our meeting and our thinking, and that's the lover, warrior, magician, and king archetypes. And so our meetings are kind of structured in that fashion. Starting with the lover, we check in with what we're feeling and what's up for us in the moment. And then moving to the warrior, we talk about the language of the warrior is data. And so we try to separate judgments from the from what is. So in the warrior quadrant, we're really focused on uh, clearly identifying what's going on in the external world and try to separate that from the reaction and judgments we have about that world. And then moving into the magician quadrant, we typically have a process. Sometimes it's a visualization that connects us with our inner child. Sometimes it's a didactic process. Sometimes it's a very structured uh, a questioning, and sometimes we do what we call shadow work or carpet work, which is really utilizing some of the Gestalt tools that we learned in USM to really set up a kind of a psychodrama that helps us re-experience some of the wounding in our childhood and offers us from the adult perspective a way to reframe it, nurture it, and bless that. And we do take a learning orientation to life, which simply means we look at we look at all our upsets as a gift, a opportunity to learn, and that's very healing in and of itself to take that perspective that the upsets that I have are really here to teach me. So thank you, teacher. Welcome. And we also really stress taking responsibility.
Okay.
And when we use that word responsibility, I'm really talking about we are response able. So whatever's up for us, we take full responsibility for creating it and then recognizing and owning it. And then since we're response able, we then can move into a place of choice. And so what I like to say is I don't do any teaching in these men's groups. They're experiential opportunities for each man to share what's up with his life and then to use some of these tools to help mine the gold within that. And like I like to say, love cannot be taught. I wish it could, but it can't. So what we work on is removing the barriers to love's presence. And what that looks like, or what these barriers typically show up as, we use the word shadows. And shadows were kind of popularized by Carl Jung and then kind of further simplified and elaborated by Robert Bly in his little book on the shadows. But really, shadows are that parts of ourself that we hide, repress, and deny. And so bringing those shadows into the light, we're able uh, to make them conscious, take full responsibility for them, because we created all that, and then forgive ourselves, and then finally to express gratitude for this key element that we put into shadow that now is helping us return to love. In a little simplified way, I like to talk about it is whatever the issue is, it's typically driven by a judgment. So name it, claim it, tame it, reframe it, and then aim it. And then all of that work leads us to being able to live a more alive, fully empowered, co-creative way of being in the world.
That helps. What type of men do you attract in the Mankind Project? Who shows up for
Well, it's
this work?
really an interesting uh, topic, and it's changed a little bit over the years. When I first did the work, which was 20 years ago, it mainly was men over 40 to 45
Hmm.
because it really took, you really don't come to a workshop like this uh, if you think your life is wonderful and everything's going great, and it really takes a while for even successful men to recognize there's something missing in their life. And so it takes some life experience. And so in the old days, it was older men that came, and now we're finding younger and younger men are coming. So there's a wide range of men coming from 18 to we've had men in their 80s come do this training. So it's a wide range. Your successful executive types, and it's your blue collar workers. It's your drug addicts and alcoholics are really in recovery. They really find this work attractive, and so it attracts all men from all different walks of life.
That's wonderful.
And
It's
the neat thing is every man gets a lot out of it, regardless of your background, your status, your progression on this path of awakening. Everybody gets a deeper, richer. Everybody goes away feeling blessed and more empowered from uh, from the place they were when they came.
Wow. So your warrior weekends, or you, I thought I heard you say this was the initiation weekend.
That's what we call it, and
Oh,
it's a 48-hour commitment, and it doesn't stop there. That's just the kind of the initial gives men an initial aha of what could be possible if they were able to get in control of their feelings and their judgments, and it starts them on a journey. It's not an end point, and then we follow up that weekend with an 8 to 9 weekly night meeting where they learn more skills. We call that our primary integration training. So you have a weekend which gives you this powerful new insight, and then we integrate that over a 9 week period. And then a lot of these initial integration groups continue on for years. And I've been in one almost ever since I started 20 years ago. And I've started them in churches. I've started one here locally. And so it's a provides men a weekly connection for continuous growth. So it's an initial training, and then also men get a lot of value after they've done the weekend to staff a weekend. So typically on a weekend we'll have, let's say, 40 new initiates, and there might be 40 to 50 men on staff.
mm,
So those that have gone through the training get additional leadership training by staffing the weekend. So it's a brilliant concept that keeps the organization growing and alive. And there've been over 50,000 men worldwide that have done this training.
that's wonderful because my next question was, is this an international organization or national organization? Because if I'm in Chicago, you're in Texas, and people may be listening from different states or even different countries. So, how would they sign up or get more information?
Yeah, great question. There's different centers around the country. There's a Chicago center, and the one I'm involved with is called the South Central Center, which is kind of located just 20 minutes from my house. But my center services Austin, Dallas, Houston, and New Orleans. And then there's probably one in every state, and there's definitely worldwide. So I can't name all the countries, but a lot of different countries have centers. And the best way to learn more about it and to sign up is to go to mkp.org. MKP being short for the Mankind Project.
So, you talked about what you do in the work. What are some of the benefits of the work that the men do in Mankind Project?
It's a lot, and so let me just uh, talk about a few. First, it helps integrate a man. A lot of men like me, definitely me. I was living in my head, and I was an engineer and very analytical, and I thought that's where I was supposed to be. But New Warrior helped me integrate my head, heart, and my soul. So
Mm,
it's about integration. Uh, the work gives you an opportunity to look at your life to see what's working and what's not, and then offers you the skills to address what's not working. And it provides men an opportunity to develop their skills as leaders. Everybody that does this work finds that they become better leaders, partners, fathers, elders, and are able to give their gifts back to the world in service. It connects men with their authentic self. It helps you improve your relationships, especially with women, because women like to talk about feelings, and I had trouble doing that. So doing this work helped me get in touch with my feelings, and then it helped me become more willing to share myself in a vulnerable fashion. It helps improve the man's self-confidence, self-acceptance. Boy, that was a key one for me. I really got it that my self-acceptance didn't really come from my production, my external contribution to the world. I really got it that there was a place within me that was so loving and self-accepting regardless of what I contributed to the external world. And that, for me, that was profound.
That is a huge one because I think many men, I won't say all, are externally driven with self-acceptance.
Exactly. And maybe that's a key way to talk about this training. It moves one from a focus on external validation and responding to the external world to a place of internal certainty, acceptance, and which is another way to say it. It connects you with your authentic self.
That's just wonderful.
Yeah,
And
I could go on the benefits, but tell me
I
when to
bet
stop.
after 20 years of being an observer and a participant, that's just wonderful. And you facilitated groups and you've seen a lot of different experiences of men. Can you just share maybe a handful of the high points that you've witnessed in this organization?
Well, it's really gratifying when a guy gets it that he's been holding on to a belief that he came to when he was, 6, 8 years old. Just take an example of a belief that I'm not good enough. Because when I was 6, I was raking the leaves in the front yard, and my dad came out, and he was angry from work and his own life stresses, and he really verbally ripped me upside and down the other that I just wasn't raking those leaves right. And and that's an example. So
Mhm.
a man would internalize that and take on the belief I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy, or I just can't hack it. And when a man, and then a man kind of lives his life from that perspective because, an 8-year-old doesn't have the intellectual ability to be able to differentiate that with what's real and what's not, and so you take it on as a reality and you start living your life from that place, and you start to set up your life to validate your belief. So my belief is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and end up setting up my life to validate that for me, and it zaps my energy, and I get bad results from that belief. And
Right.
so when a man is able to and through a gestalt process be able to go back and rescue that 8-year-old from that belief and give that belief back to his dad and know that he is worthy and he is good enough, from this intrinsic perspective of I am love and I am self accepting again, regardless of what's going on in the external world. And so to see a man make that connection, it's really life changing from him, and it's really nice to be a part of seeing that transformation in someone else when they're willing to lay down a belief that they got when they were 8 years old and be able to come to a different way of nurturing themselves and respecting themselves and validating themselves, gives me goosebumps.
Wow, that's just wonderful. And the
And that
work.
happens all the time. It's happened to me over and over again, and it's
Mm,
it's happened to those in my group. And it may not stick the first time, so we have to go back in. So that's an example of working on the barriers to love's presence. Is when you can remove one of those barriers, you just get closer and closer to that authentic essence at the center where we all are connected with that loving source.
and you're able to show up more and more as an authentic person.
E-
It's just
Exactly, yeah.
Rick, I look at your Facebook posts. I
Yeah.
troll you. And you were having a warrior weekend. This was a few months ago. And
Uh-huh.
you had a post. You posted some words that really got my attention. You said a bad boy is a good man's job and a good man is a bad boy's work. And you said it was Lao Tzu Te Ching modified. That was just so profound
I
to
love
me.
it. Well, you may be one of few that really gets that. The Lao Tzu quote from the Tao Te Ching is, a bad man is a good man's job, and a good man is a bad man's work. And I may have said that wrong, but the bottom line is those of us that are a few steps along the path are not supposed to, but we have the joy of reaching our hand back to those that are behind us and give them a help up and model for other men. And then those that are behind, let's say, have the opportunity to look up to those that are a little ahead and take from that example. That's what that was intended to say. And I'm also involved with working with boys through a project called Boys to Men. And so that's really our goal, is to model healthy adult male energy for these younger boys, give them an example. So that's kind of a convoluted way to put it, but I wanted to bring in the Tao Te Ching in some way.
Well, it really was profound, especially with the video where the man said, go find one, when he had a full circle moment with a young man that he brought to his house to fix food for. And the young man saw him as a father figure and said it was a miracle. And for the man to see himself in that little boy as a child wanting the same thing or seeing the same thing. That was really profound to
Yeah.
me. That was great. Well,
Yeah, and what I'm working on, being kind of in my elder years, the sovereign archetype is all about blessing. And so my work is to be a blesser of younger men and offer that example and affirm other men along their own path. And sometimes I forget the profound impact I have on others in my life. And so why not make it a good impact?
that's wonderful. That's really great. And I just really want to thank you for spending this time telling us about the Mankind Project. I think if anyone listening, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, what success level you are, this is something that could help any man and support them in their lives. And Rick, I want to thank you again. You are my favorite life coach.
Thank you, Diane. And I also want to just put in a plug. There's
Mhm,
several women's organizations that do similar work. There's Woman Within,
mhm.
Women Revealed, and Women Empowered. So if your audience or female, tell them to send their men to the Mankind Project. And there's similar organizations out there for women. So I think this work is powerful for both sexes.
Yeah, and that's perfect for men and women. Women, we have plenty of resources for inner work. It was just so beautiful to see that there was a international and national organization for men. So that's what really got me going when you would share.
Women do lead the way in, I think, in spiritual, psychological development, and we men are catching up a little bit, but it's good that there are resources for all of us.
Exactly. And you're right. We're all showing up more and more every day and doing the work that we need to do to be our full authentic self. So this has been a wonderful conversation, and I want to thank you for being here today on this episode, empowering people with tools that they can use to change their lives from the inside out. Thank you so much, Rick
I
Birdwell.
love it. And Diane, I really appreciate your energy and efforts in this forum and in this work. So a lot of gratitude for you and your work. So I enjoy seeing your Facebook posts, and best of luck to you as well.
Thank you very much.
I'm Diane Randall. I want to hear from you, so send me an email or send me a voicemail. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This podcast is sponsored by DianeRandallConsults.com. If you like this show, the best way to support it is by leaving 5-star feedback on iTunes. And please, feel free to email your questions, comments, and suggestions to feedback@DianeRandallConsults.com. Until next week, namaste.